Hey there, internet friends. Welcome to another episode of That D Plus Show. Classes in session for the only show from that nerdy site that lets you know what kind of quality to expect right from the name. I'm your host, Trevor Starkey, and each week we dive into a different Disney Plus offering and discuss its history, how it holds up today, and our general impressions. If you like the show, we would love it if you like, subscribe, rate, review, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. Joining me once again this week, Cameron Abbott. How you doing, Cam?
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
After taking last week off, so we had just a quick solo episode last week on The Bad Batch. Today we are back together to talk about The Simpsons, specifically season 19, episode 17, or season 9, episode 17, episode entitled Lisa the Simpson. However, if you go on to Disney Plus, it's weirdly listed as like season 9, episode 3.
Yeah.
I don't know necessarily what's going on there. I do see, like, from some of the trivia, maybe there's some, stuff that will tie into why that's the numbering conventions are weird there, but it's whatever. Anyway, why do we pick it? Picked it because it is a quick and easy thing that we could sit down and watch, since me and Cam are both just kind of binging through Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So diving into a quick episode of The Simpsons, a nice, easy, not time-consuming item for us compared to like some of the movies and stuff, as well as it's that time of year where not a ton of new things have come out, so I feel like I typically always kind of land on some sort of like, hey, let's do an episode of The Simpsons as just an episode of the podcast. Let me find out an episode that is like nearing an anniversary of some sort. And sure enough, this episode, Lisa the Simpson, originally aired March 8th, 1998. So this episode will be going live on its 25th anniversary, effectively, here in 2024. Our history lesson, as noted there, this originally released March 8th, 1998. Other releases of the time, I didn't bother looking it up. I'm sure there was a whole bunch of TV stuff that happened in 1998. That would have probably been the most time-consuming bit of research and study that I did for this episode, so apologies for skipping over that bit. But we did have a runtime of about 23 minutes. In the Simpsons timeline of things, again, I'm going to go off of like where this aired in order of things versus where Disney Plus has it in order. But the episode prior to this that aired a week earlier was The Dumbbell Indemnity, which was an episode that saw Homer and Moe attempt insurance fraud so that Moe could support his new girlfriend.
Yep.
However, when Homer ends up in jail, Moe has to decide whether or not to come forward. Then we had Lisa the Simpson here. And then after this, we had This Little Wiggy, where Bart was reluctant to hang out with Ralph Wiggum until he gains access to Chief Wiggum's master key to the city. So some notable season 9 episodes there.
Season 9 has a lot of bangers in it. I was checking it out. I was like, there's a lot of great episodes of The Simpsons in season 9.
It's definitely one of those, like, those kind of the end of the golden era of The Simpsons that we often think about. Our roll call, our who's who of the project. The director was Susan Dieter, who did, in addition to this episode, she did 11 total episodes of The Simpsons. She's also the director of 6 episodes of the Saturday morning cartoon staple in my childhood, Recess, as well as 6 episodes of Futurama. Our writer here was Ned Goldreyer, who worked on 35 episodes of The Simpsons. Looking through IMDb, all of them were as story editor, except this episode, or some variation of story editor. Like, I think in this season, there were like a few that were like executive story editor or something like that. This appears to be the only one he's actually credited as the writer on, but obviously he was very involved in there for a few seasons. He also would go on to work on 8 episodes of the short-lived animated version of Dilbert, the classic comic strip, I guess. And then he also wrote, in live action, 13 episodes of Grounded for Life, which I remember vaguely watching when I was growing up. Our cast of characters, once again, of course, Dan Castellaneta as Homer Simpson, at 761 episodes and counting here in 2024. Julie Kavner as Marge, 758 episodes and counting. Nancy Cartwright as Bart, at 760 episodes and counting. Yearly Smith is Lisa, our titular Simpson in this one, 758 episodes and counting. Hank Azaria in here as Apu and other characters. It's 750 episodes and counting. And Harry Shearer of the kind of core main cast is in here as Jasper, among other characters, with 760 episodes and counting. And we also, of course, have one of the later appearances of Phil Hartman as Troy McClure, having been in 52 episodes. I meant to go back and double check because this would be like on the later end of the spectrum, because he was only on the show through 1998 through this year. But I imagine like in the trivia, it wasn't like this is the last ever performance of Phil Hartman. So I imagine this wasn't the case.
I think does he go? I think he goes through season, like part of season 10 at least, right?
I mean, it theoretically it would be that fall if he did. But yeah, I don't know. And then other cast members we have here, we have Pamela Hayden as Milhouse and others, who has worked on 681 episodes of the show thus far. Tress McNeil as Dr. Simpson and other characters, 633 episodes of the show. Maggie Roswell as Miss Hoover and others, 277 episodes. And Russie Taylor as Martin Prince, who worked on 193 episodes of the show prior to her passing in 2019. Some trivia. There is no chalkboard message in this episode. It has an abbreviated cold open that starts with Homer pulling into the driveway, as would often be the case when an episode was running along. The sofa gag, however, is a vine growing in the middle of the living room with the Simpsons appearing as fruits and vegetables on the tree. Some other trivia here. There's a DVD Easter egg in the Season 9 Disc 3 DVD. When Lisa holds up the puzzle on the back of her lunch near the beginning of the episode, if you press the number 6 on your DVD remote, you can unlock a full episode-length commentary from Bill Oakley and Josh Weinstein. They discuss their time spent working on the show and address a few important issues. This was notably the final episode they ran as showrunners there in Season 8/9. They wanted to end on a good note, with Weinstein saying that this episode, quote, was meant to embody the humor, depth, and emotion of The Simpsons. They also wished to have an episode they ran that was based on the background of every character they could do, and believe this episode came out well. The name of the episode was the center of an argument that Bill Oakley and the writer Ned Goldenreyer had, as Oakley originally wanted to have the episode named Lisa the Simpson, but the writer, Goldreyer, wanted to name it Suddenly Stupid as a pun on Suddenly Susan. Yeah. I think... Yeah, I guess so this was the final episode that these two ran. It was a carryover from Season 8, which is when their primary time with the show had ended, but because they had basically done the bulk of the work that prior season before it got pushed to Season 9, that's why this is technically their last episode. On the directing front, Susan Dieters, this was her final episode until returning nearly a decade later in 2007 for Season 18, Episode 14, Yokel Chords. So she'd done kind of a handful of episodes in the few years leading up to that, and then nothing till 2007. All of the male Simpson family members that show up were voiced by Dan Castellaneta. He had asked for the recording tape to be run for about 20 minutes so he could just do many different voice variations that would fit the different men, but still be close to Homer's voice. And then one of my favorite gags in the show I want to give a call out to, when one of the buildings featured in When Buildings Collapse is called the House of Usher, a very literal reference to the Edgar Allan Poe story, The Fall of the House of Usher, which obviously has an extra, connotation here in 2024 after the recent Netflix show of the same name. So Cam, What did you think hopping into this one? How did it hold up all these 26 years later?
I mean, I remember watching this one in syndication.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of my more favorite episodes. It's one of the Golden Age ones, but I think also on top of that, it deals with a very real issue that Lisa has as the quote unquote intelligent member of the family.
Mm-hmm.
I find the kind of like existential dread she has about the mundanity and like the like very I'm trying to think of the word here, but almost like pig-like behavior that her father and brother have, and her reluctantly trying to embrace it. This is one of like, it's always one of my favorite things is when she gets really like into that existential dread. You have these wonderful like little asides, like when she visits the museum and the curator, like she goes, it's like, I have a personal relationship with this curator. The curator is actually, I'm revealing to you a crime. And it's just,
oh, I'm glad you like it. I painted it. The real one's at home.
The real one's in my garage.
Yeah.
And it's just those little asides, those little moments, those little cutaways are what I think like really identify as like the quote unquote golden age of Simpsons.
I like that you connected with that one, whereas I really love the gag of her talking with the violinist and like having this deep, profound conversation, and she walks away and the violinist is like, damn, I thought that was going to be a sale, as we see her trying to sell cassette tapes of her out of the trunk of her car and being like, yep, that sounds like the violinist life there in 1998.
Gosh, especially a jazz violinist.
Yeah.
You know, you have to listen to the notes she's not playing, and it's like the most pretentious garbage. And I like I love it when Lisa has to deal with these like deep. I also enjoy it when she has to deal with like when it comes to Lisa episodes. I feel like these are the best ones.
Yeah, I mean, like in general, I like when we get Lisa episodes just as a standard rule, because she's so often, her and Marge always are pretty much just playing the straight women to the buffoonery of Homer or Bart. And so like these episodes that are kind of focused on her and the concerns she has or the fears she has about, you know, losing her identity in this case, let her be a little bit more fun and weirdly in the way it's pulling up her guard, it is kind of bringing her guard down a little bit more. So yeah, it's just one of those kind of fascinating bits. So let's talk about some of our favorite jokes from the episode, I would say.
I mean, obviously we have to talk about the Apu in the room, the frozen man.
I love seeing the frozen Jasper come up, because I like, as soon as that moment happened, I was like, I distinctly remember this being like an Easter eggy thing in at least one of the Simpsons games. I don't remember which one, but like at some point I remember going in a 3D world into the Quickie Mart and seeing like frozen Jasper as Frostilicus or whatever he is, with his like Viking hat and stuff in there, and I was like, nice. So I'd probably forgotten what episode that came from, but seeing it here, I was like, perfect, great. Yeah, I just the B plot in general of the of Apu trying to like exploit that. Even before we get there, like him using the novelty pen to like entertain Homer, and Homer being like, "What's going to happen? Oh, you know who would like this? Men."
Perfect.
Great joke. Perfect. No notes. Yeah. What else do we have on that? Anything else on the Apu side? I mean, like the button of Apu basically like leaving that freak show behind and then just like turning immediately into like a bottomless strip club or whatever. It was like, yeah. Okay, that's another choice.
Yeah,
I'd forgotten his like brother character, who I feel like only ever occasionally pops up. And him being here, I was like, oh, that's a nice little bit of continuity. What else? I'm a sucker for the Troy McClure bit.
Always, yeah.
Always just in general, but in this one in particular, the like him opening the episode and like taking off like his hazmat helmet, and like all of the other people in the hazmat suits like freaking out and the alarm going off and stuff, is like, That's a nice subtle joke. And then the like immediate like cut to end of the video when the kid's like, what does DNA stand for? It's just, yep. Of course he wasn't going to know that. Any other gags you want to give a call out to?
For me, I mean, tying into the Troy McClure video is the doctor who's just like,
did you want to watch it again?
Yeah, did you want to watch it again? Like, can I change my DNA? Oh, not in any movie I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, so good about like these little things. And also shout out to what will end up coming up later in the show. Like Homer weirdly got stupid at some point. Mm-hmm. And they're like, is it the gene? Is it the like whatever? And it's kind of like, who cares? But at the same time, I love that it's a like boys go to Jupiter to get more stupider type of just like men versus women gag they're pulling. But I think what I was going to say earlier was
I've never known that as a phrase, but okay.
Boys go to Jupiter to get more stupider. Anyway. I think one of my favorite things though about this episode is really a heartfelt thing, which is once again Homer proving that he is capable of being like a good father. Immediately he finds out Lisa's having an existential crisis because his nut job of a father told her about the Simpson the Simpson
gene, yeah.
The Simpson gene. And he it was like, that's ridiculous. Like, Marge, get me give me your address book and my conversation hat. And it's like a like Crocodile Dundee hat. And it's like, he called up all of his cousins and like everybody he knows. And he's like, hey, let me my daughter needs help. And it's like, he proves once again, he can be a really, really good father, but only to Lisa.
Yeah. And it also backfires in like typically Homer fashion.
Absolutely,
where like
does.
He immediately starts asking all these men the question and like they're all failures. My favorite though is the I play a millionaire at parties. At least I'd like to.
So good. What do you do? Oh, I shoot birds at the airport. It's like, is that guy saying just what he does in his pastime or what his job is?
Yeah. And Bart being like, you probably should have vetted these, huh, Dad? I always love like Bart getting those digs in on Homer.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And then, of course we have the nice little payoff of like, oh, the women in the crowd are smart and successful. And yes, the fact that the Simpson gene is like tied to the Y chromosome, at least they even like throw some science in it, which, will help placate and alleviate Lisa's stress. Did you, so when I watched it, cause I watched it over my lunch break, and you watched it basically when you got home from work. Did you remember and or like immediately know the solution to the puzzle kind of thing?
So here's my thing. Couple of those signs are like the not astrology, but the astrological like ancient signs of like a few things, including like the sun and other things. So I always forget that you slide it over and then you solve it.
So no, you didn't.
No, because I see that I see like the symbol for like Mercury, and I go, oh, this must be like Mercury, Venus, Earth, and you have to like know the next one, and then it's like, oh wait, nope, always gets me. Mm-hmm. I always overcomplicate it.
Yeah. For me, it was like, it came up. I was kind of like half paying attention and I was like, wait, what is, let me look at it and like figure out, do I remember the solution or do I know what the solution is? And I'm like, oh yeah, I got it. Okay. I'm there alongside the boys of it being like, oh, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but mirrored. So the next one down would be 6 mirrored. But like even that as like a setup for this, is such a fun little way to like dig at Lisa of like all the guys getting it, even Ralph and like Ralph like having the pity moment for Lisa of like but you're hurting is just so wonderful. And yeah, just I love that. And it also weirdly ties into like the moment where she's like, I forgot my locker combination or whatever, because it is like it's a little cryptology number kind of thing, and she's just like, you can be smart in many things and just not see that pattern with numbers or something like that. So I appreciate that there was like a little bit of even extra thought in that bit. I also love the gag in the like show about building collapses. One, I remember just from that era, like that just being a like form of television.
Yeah.
In particular, I will always remember, I watching this just reminds me of like, oh, they were tearing down a building on the Las Vegas Strip, so they turned it into like a special on Fox or
Yes.
something, and it
Remember
was like
that? Yeah, that
like
was the
30,
time.
30 minutes about like, here's the history of this place, and at the end of the episode we're gonna blow it all up and you're just gonna watch it, crash, like, and like it was a live thing, so it was like
It was so
they
weird.
turned it into like a television event of like, yeah, we're gonna blow a building. Obviously, very clearly a pre 9/11 kind of experience on television. But yeah, that was just like one of those wild things. And my favorite gag in there, in addition to the Fall of the House of Usher, which I just love, was the one right before it, where it's just like a sign. It's like Society of Industrial Engineers or something like that, and just collapsing, and because there's an extra layer of Schadenfreude there of like, oh, they should know better, but of course they tempted God because they built it on the side of this wall or whatever silly visual thing that is. I love the moment at the end of that when they're like, we're hungry, no snacks, dinner's in 3 minutes. Oh my God, no, not 3 minutes. If she'd started dinner 3 minutes earlier, we wouldn't be in this problem right now. Like, even that, I love Lisa's like approach to that being just the smarter one compared to Homer and Bart. Who immediately go for like melted chocolate and whatever else they can find.
When I was referring earlier to like the pig aspect of like the kind of idiocy of Homer and Bart, it is like that moment where like also the melted chocolate somehow like tangible enough for you to like hold it like this, like ew, like, and like make it like wave. Also, really good.
Just the recurring gag of the Simpson boys wearing pots on their heads and bashing into each other that we get, the callback to later when all of the Simpson men in the crowd are standing in a circle watching the same kind of thing. I love I took a note. I'm supposed to be talking to you about Prop 305. And Homer just being like mooching war widows after that had been set up as like, here's what we were looking for you to say. Are you against this? And
I'm against Proposition 305.
Yeah, sure.
Free bus fare for war widows.
Yeah. Trying to think. And then similarly in that bit where she starts going off script, I love the cutaway to like the producer being like, no, let her talk. I'm trying to get fired. Like, it was very much I wonder what that joke's going to be, and I love that it was that as the joke.
Just straightforward, just like, I want to get fired. Like, we're letting this happen.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that runs down all of the. Oh, also shout out to the show me your hat that that Ned covers his boys from.
Yep. It says ties.
Yeah. Show me your tie hat. And also shout out to Milhouse being proud about like it not being cooties. It's called lice and it's nothing to be ashamed of.
Scratching his head, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty perfect.
Yeah. Just lots of like it. Any of these episodes that we go back to that I'm sure, like you, I'm sure I saw a ton of times on syndication, but it's been many, many years I've forgotten about. So I love just the like smiles or the like, oh, that was a good one kind of bits on this, show from almost 30 years ago. Yeah. Any final thoughts on this one before we wrap up and move on to grading it?
One thing I can think of is like the last gag that I want to mention is the dessert burrito, strawberry dessert burrito. And I'm not going to lie, sounds pretty dang good.
Sure. That was probably a visual one that I wasn't like paying close enough attention to.
I rewinded to see what the gag was for it.
Got it.
I was like, why is he putting in a strawberry tart bar or whatever it is? Like, oh no, it's a burrito but the inside filling strawberry. I was like, cool.
Yeah. Oh, the things you find in a Quickie Mart. Like moon pie. Oh. Yeah, that like just the payoff of Jasper coming back like, 3 days later or whatever, being like, I'm so far in the future. Apu, the years have not been kind to you, my friend. Is a lovely, lovely gag. All right. And then I also like, I love this also weird meta thing of like, oh, this is a couple years before Futurama. And that's effectively the loose premise of what would be the show Futurama of guy gets frozen and wakes up in the future. So shout out to that bit too. All right. Well, let us then dive into the report card. We're grade from A+ to F. What do you want to give this episode of The Simpsons?
I mean, this is a pretty solid A+. I mean, I just don't think, like, do they get better than this? Yes. But this is, of course, we're talking, like, this, to me, is peak quality Simpsons. Like, you just get beginning to end solid all the way through. Pretty great stuff.
Yeah, I mean, in that vein and with a lot of that logic, for me, it probably ends up being more like a B+ of, like, it's not one of the, like, this is an episode of The Simpsons I think about kind of.
It is one that I think about, though.
So it's certainly from that classic era, but it's not like a classic episode that I would put on a pedestal like that. But yeah, it's definitely a solid episode. So nothing to sneeze at there. All right, well, extra credit, other suggestions if you like this. Disney Plus has changed up their algorithm or something because it's no longer capped at 8 items. So they threw in admittedly a bunch of Disney Simpsons things, but this particular item had like 10 episodes on The Simpsons at this point. So it was like The Simpsons movie, The Simpsons Meet the Bocellis, Feliz Navidad short, the Welcome to the Club short, the When Billy Met Lisa short, the Simpsons in Plusiversary short, the Good, the Bart, and the Loki short, the Simpsons cross Bad Bunny, Te Deseo Lo Mejor, and then The Force Awakens from its nap, Playdate with Destiny, and The Longest Day Care short. And shout out to our friend Ava, who's worked on a number of those shorts and in her time with The Simpsons in recent years. The other couple suggestions that Disney Plus threw out there, the 2017 DuckTales reboot, as well as the animated show Big City Greens, which I've never actually sat down and watched. Extracurriculars, anything else on Disney Plus, or was this very much like a, hey, I'm just watching this to do an episode and then back to Final Fantasy is the
very much that. That is kind of the goal of this.
Yeah. I was like eyeballing a couple things, but yeah, nothing really has pulled my attention away. I do keep seeing though the ads for the Eras tour making its exclusive home on Disney Plus starting next week. I would
definitely watch that. So.
Yeah, that'll probably be an episode here in the coming weeks. Whether or not it'll be next week's episode, it'll all depend because I will be going off to Disney in a couple weeks here. So the timing of when that comes out versus when we record versus when the episodes go live and all that stuff, we'll figure out what's going to happen. We might miss a week here or there to account for that, or we'll find out. But that is going to do it for us here at That D Plus Show. Thank you, Cam, for joining me on this one to sit down and just talk about a classic Simpsons episode. You can follow Cameron at Rev Cabot, 2 B's and 2 T's. Anything you want to give a shout out to there, Cam?
Yeah, I think the only thing I want to really give a shout out to right now is Trevor's Let's Play of Yakuza Like a Dragon. I guess it's just Like a Dragon.
Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth.
Infinite Wealth, yeah. I guess that's technically what it's called, but for me, it'll always be Yakuza.
Yeah.
Yakuza 8, as it were. Yeah, shout out to you. Your Let's Plays continue. They keep on going, and they keep on coming, and they keep on getting views, and I'm very happy about that. I have no idea what's going on in them, but I'm just very happy to see that they're getting views, and we're getting some good analytics from that.
There you go. I haven't even paid attention to that. So
I know.
I'm glad to hear they're getting views.
Yep. It's me. I'm the one that pays attention to it. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think also in part because like I uploaded those like weeks ago at this point, and it's just a matter of like there was Tuesday morning at like 3 a.m. I woke up because I realized I hadn't scheduled like the tweet for it. And I was still awake playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. But so before I went to bed, I was like, no, I should get up and just go into the system and schedule that tweet. Because I'd already uploaded the videos. I already had everything scheduled to post. It just wasn't going to be a tweet about it until that moment. So that's the thing that is keeping me on those. I still at some point I'm gonna have to go and like edit the rest of those episodes, but yeah, those are all continuing to come out. I'll echo that. You can follow me at Trevor J Starkey, and I will also shout out to those Let's Plays of Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. It'll basically be and we're at the point now, I think this week was basically chapter 5, which I did in 2 episodes. I very much am at this point mostly mainlining story stuff, and then I'm doing
Mhm.
like all the sub stories and stuff in between episodes. But next week will take us to Dondoku Island, so you'll get to see kind of
Yep.
in one episode the beginning of my island, and then like we'll pick up the next episode 20 hours of the game later, where I've gone through and done everything else on Dondoku Island, and you'll get to see a brief look at my 5-star resort. So stay tuned for all of that. You follow all of us over at That Nerdy Site, or go to thatnerdysite.com. We didn't have a That Nerdy Site show this last week to shout out or plug, because both Cam and I were, again, just kind of spent the whole weekend playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but didn't get far enough to really give concrete thoughts on the thing.
Yeah.
This week, I imagine we won't be done with it. I might be done with the game, but Cam probably won't be. So this week will most likely be some movie talk. I think I'm going to sit down with Logan. We'll talk Dune Part 2, as well as a couple other movies that he's seen. So we'll have that for potentially Monday's podcast. But once again, if you like what you heard, please remember to like, rate, review, subscribe, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. Thank you for joining us. As always, stay nerdy and be good to each other.